When I was a teenager, I did a lot of things that my mother, to this day, has no clue that I did. And in this week's video, I'm going to be telling you some of these stories. And I'm very much aware that my mum is subscribed to this channel and will more than likely be seeing this video. So, hi mum, these are a few things that you have no idea that I used to get up to when I was a teenager. One time I told my mum that I was staying at my friend Charmaine's place, but that wasn't true. My boyfriend drove me out to a party in the middle of Whoop Whoop where nobody there was over the age of 18. We were drinking and smoking and doing a whole lot of crap until all hours of the morning and getting into a whole lot of mischief. And the next day my boyfriend drove me back into Gore. Now this was when I was living in New Zealand. On the day that I lost my virginity, there was a sports day at school and me and two friends, we skipped school. Let's call them Tom and Jerry. Now me and Tom, we had a thing sort of going on at this point and we went to Jerry's place. Now Jerry's mum was not there. So we were just chilling out there for an hour or so, whatever. And one thing led to another and we did the deed. And then, Jerry's mum turned up and he was crapping himself because his mum thought that he was at school. Now, the shit hit the fan basically. And at the end of this, I forged my mum's signature for a note to say why I was not at school that day. There was another time that I told my mum that I was staying with Indra. Now, I was not at Indra's place. I had arranged to meet up with a guy that was in his 20s. Now, I was 15 at the time. He picked me up with a few other people and we ended up driving to Queenstown. Now, Queenstown is about 2 hours drive outside of Gore. And we drove out there, ended up going into a few nightclubs and getting up to a whole lot of stuff that we probably shouldn't have been doing. And I ended up hitchhiking home the next day. A random person picked me up from outside of Queenstown and drove me all the way to Gore. And mum, you might remember this, you picked me up at the Trout. Whoopsie, never told you this, but here it is now. When we were living outside of Gore, there was a small little town called Pukerau, and a little bit further out of town, I think like, I don't know, 10 minutes drive or so, there was an area called Arthurton. Now I lived in Arthurton and this was when my mum was staying at her boyfriend's place. So about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I walked from Arthurton to Pukerau to meet up with a guy that I knew from school. We ended up at the little sports area that is in Pukerau and we climbed up onto the roof, ended up making out on the roof, and then after that I walked back to Arthurton. Now, I do have to say, this was a very bad idea. I was slightly scared of the dark and walking for that long in the middle of the night was terrifying. And me being my little naive 15-year-old self, I thought, oh, nothing bad's gonna happen. And I do have to say that I do not condone any of these actions that I did because they could have ended very, very badly. Thankfully, nothing bad happened from all of these things that I did. I hope you liked these stories, and if you have anything similar that you would like to confess to me, please write them in the comments. I really want to know. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all and I will see you next week.